Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Navigating the New SAM.gov. This webinar is presented today by Billy Grill, Dayton PTAC Counselor at Ohio University Procurement Technical Assistance Center. My name is Aaron Monson. I am the Education and Events Manager at IFAI, and I will be moderating today's session. During our webinar, you will have the opportunity to submit questions or comments to Billy by typing them into the questions box of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will address these questions periodically throughout the webinar and again at the end of the webinar. We will also be recording today and sending the video out in an email to registrants tomorrow, which will come directly from the GoToWebinar platform. So with this, I will now pass things off to today's speaker, Billy. Welcome, Billy.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody for taking the time out of their busy schedules to attend the webinar today. Hopefully it has some really good information, some nuggets that you find actionable, and that can help you in your processes internally with working with the government. SAM.gov has gone through a lot of different changes. It's actually now referred to as the Integrated Award Environment. And it's really your gateway to working with the federal government. And hopefully you get some value out of the different nuances as I explain them today, and how to work with this massive environment that they're creating. So without further ado, we'll start getting into the presentation. So what are we covering today? I'm going to give a good overview of what the Integrated Award Environment is, the different domains. They went through a massive merger in the spring, and that brought about a lot of changes. And there's also a new workspace where you actually manage your entity within the award environment. And then probably most important is your help and resources. And if we have time, a short demo, I'm not sure we will. But the one thing I want everybody to remember is my information is on the title slide. I am available by phone, by email, by fax machine if need be, because we are part of the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. In our center, we're funded by the federal government. We have over 300 locations nationwide. We work with small businesses and some large businesses at no cost to the business to help them navigate the nuance of working with the government. So whenever in doubt, feel free to reach out to your local PTAC counselor. If you don't know who that is, I am always available. I can help you find that counselor, and I can help answer many questions so that you don't have to spend your time scouring the web or looking for additional resources. So probably most importantly today is we are here to help with the PTAC at no cost to you. If you're having any issues with anything from SAM.gov registration, all the way through anything dealing with working with the federal, state, or local government. As I just explained, PTAC, we're a nationwide organization, 300 local offices. These are old statistics from 2019. They probably need to be updated, but if you look at the numbers, we really do know what we're doing in helping businesses work with the government and get contracts with the government. I myself have over 250 clients here in Dayton, and I've helped them with various things from registering in SAM, getting first contract award, all the way through working through contract closeout. So we're a pretty versatile bunch here. Our mission, we really work a lot with events like this, training events, and we also do one-on-one appointments with clients. But we also have a bid matching service, which it pulls in different federal, state, and local opportunities and emails them to you based on a profile that we set up. It will give you a lot of opportunities out of the SAM.gov system, but it also gives you some state and local opportunities as well that you might not find in SAM.gov. And so what is the Integrated Award Environment? This has been years in the making. Basically what it is a mashup of legacy systems that are put under one roof to reduce barriers to working with the government. As we all know, sometimes it can be bureaucratic and kind of painful to do work with these big organizations in the government, but also to increase transparency. We want you to know who's buying what you're selling, and that'll enable you to better work and market to the government. And then we also want to reduce the reporting burden. There's a lot of, again, bureaucracy and administration when working with the government. The PTAC can help you and work with you on that. But B, the system is also meant to help reduce some of that overhead. So really, it's the framework for conducting business with the government. And the GSA is constantly working on this. While the system does have its bugs at some points, and sometimes it doesn't act the way it's supposed to. I work a lot as a alpha and beta tester in the system, and I can tell you that it's constantly improving. They're utilizing agile development, so it's always churning out improvement and working to make it a better experience for the people working in it. The IAE as it stands are the following systems, and I won't read them out one by one, but basically you want to know that the contract opportunities, the past awards, different reporting systems, they are all becoming part of this environment and available under one roof. So it's important to know how to work within the system, especially if you regularly work with the federal government. Just some quick numbers here so you can see the magnitude of the system. 68 million plus monthly searches, $1.1 trillion in federal awards annually. And I can tell you these are 2020 numbers. That is only going up. I would bet that these numbers are a lot different today, a lot greater than they were just last year. Looking at the domains of the system for award management.gov, or now SAM.gov, they're not domains that we think, they're not your different web domains, but they are these different legacy systems, and they'll actually name the legacy system under each title here in the new homepage. So everything from contract opportunities, which is probably what everybody's using this system the most for, through wage determinations and some entity reporting. Here's a quick mapping, as you probably saw some of that on the homepage. Really what they're doing is they're taking these legacy systems like federal business opportunities and just porting them into the integrated award environment. They're doing a lot of work with data mapping. They're doing a lot of work with best practices and search and things like that to try to make this information more discoverable to us, the user. Contract opportunities domain, formerly federal business opportunities. This has been a huge part of SAM.gov since the inception of beta.sam. It's the authoritative source for federal opportunities. Anything over $25,000 in value has to, by law, be posted to SAM.gov. So this will be your hopefully one-stop. Even if it resides in another system, it has to at least be referenced with a synopsis in SAM.gov. I coach clients almost daily on how to set up saved searches, get email notifications, follow opportunities, and really work within this to find not just opportunities, but you'll find there's a ton of industry days and small business events posted in contract opportunities as well. And being able to search for those and get notifications on those chances to connect with the customer. That's a huge value in SAM.gov. And it really is, it's a process to getting your search set up, saving it, and then having it notify you. Here's your basic contract opportunities domain. As you can see, you can search by keyword, organization, date, et cetera, et cetera. My best practice is I like to start with your North American Industrial Classification System code, your NAICS code, which is a 4 to 6 digit number. And then you narrow it down by keyword, whether it's a specific niche process or software or ability. You can also work within the different notice types. So if I'm looking at a pre-solicitation or a request for information, then I want to set up a search for that. I can also do it by place of performance. I can do it by small business set aside, whether you're a small business, woman owned, 8A, hub zone, et cetera, et cetera. So really utilizing this criteria, I like to get to what I call the Goldilocks mix, where it's pulling down a discrete amount of opportunities, enough that I'm not missing anything, but not so broad that I'm getting 1,000 opportunities a day that I have to sort through, because nobody has time to really weed through all of that data. And that's where my consulting and expertise comes into play for the client, is helping them really formulate a strategy and how they're using the search function to give them the best look at the opportunities available. And that way they have time and resource to act on these opportunities to increase their chance of win, right? I mean, really what this is all about is increasing your chance at winning government contracts. And there are some additional filters. I really don't use these much, maybe the inactive date. But overall, just really want to illustrate that, using the search criteria effectively, it takes some time and it takes some adjusting to get to where you need it. But there's always help out there to help you review and better your search. The other domain that I feel is used a lot is the contract data domain. Now, this is from the Federal Procurement Data System, but the Federal Procurement Data System is still very much in use. And what I mean is, any past contract award is also mandated by law to be posted and made public. And so that really helps you, if you think about it, do competitive research on what contracts your competitors are winning. It helps you do a lot of great market research to see who's buying what you're selling. And it really allows you to get a good look at the landscape in your industry or your niche. And so the contract data domain is really it's a report builder. And what they do is they pull in all the past contract data reports or contract data, and you can run a couple of different ad hoc reports, or you can look at their standard and static reports. When I'm searching for just one contract, I'll still go to fpds.gov. But if I'm looking to pull all of the reports in a certain set aside, or all of the reports in a certain product or service, then I'm probably coming here to run a report. The good thing about their reporting is they have a ton of good training material and videos. It's based on a MicroStrategy report builder. At first, it's not that intuitive, but overall, especially with resources like your PTAC, with the Federal Service Desk, there's a lot of resources out there to help you navigate this reporting section. And it does add a lot of good value, especially this time of year when we're looking at doing our strategic planning for 2022 and 2023. It's great information to have, and it can build some pretty cool charts that look pretty for management. That's kind of how I always look at it. We want to look good for the for the guys that are signing our budgets. So it really comes in handy when you can show them, okay, this is the market size in the government. These are our targets for the next year. This is how we're getting from A to B. As I explained, there's different kinds of reports. The COVID report is really helpful because that gives you a good look at COVID spending. I always look at the small business goaling report. This report tells you which organizations are hitting their goals of small business spending, of hub zone spending, of 8A spending, and that allows you to prioritize your targets. So if I'm in 8A and I know that the Department of Air Force is not hitting their 8A goal, well, maybe I'm reaching out to their small business folks first, and that way I'm probably increasing my chances of them being receptive, knowing that, hey, they really want to hit these goals. It's not a mandate, but it's definitely front of mind for a lot of these organizations. So it's a really great report to have. Your standard reports are a little bit more in depth than your static reports, competition, contract type, detail. And then your ad hoc reporting is really where you're getting into that deep dive report builder. Probably want to pull in help the first time you use that, so that you're making the best use of your time there. At this point in the presentation, does anybody have any questions before we move forward? I don't want to fly through this and not answer anything that you guys may want to know. Okay, it looks like, and feel free to ask a question whenever I'm going through these slides. We'll make sure to get it answered as soon as possible. I'll stop and give a break, maybe once or twice more, so that we're not just flying by the information. As you'll see in the slide deck, there's a lot of linked information, so feel free to visit those resources. And as always, I am here as a resource myself. I'm always willing to help. I come from a business development background in the government space, so I've been using these systems for a lot longer than I'd like to admit. So anything at all, always here as a resource. And here's just a quick overlook or overview of some of the different metrics and attributes you can build using ad hoc reporting. Again, it's a great resource. There are other resources available like usaspending.gov. FPDS is still a great resource, but this will be your authoritative data source, if you will. And I linked a nice handy reference guide here for you. Again, there's a ton of help and resources out there to navigate this. First stop, probably the best call to contact your local PTAC. We're people here to give you answers. But if you want to explore on your own, there's a ton of different guides and things that I linked in this presentation. The next domain is your wage determination data. This is based on the SCA and Davis-Bacon Act. Basically, it's your commodity service categories, where if you have a wage determined contract, they set the floor for your wages for your workers. And here's some information on the SCA. Basically the Service Contract Act, instituted by the federal government. It's really meant to make sure that you're paying a fair wage and fringe benefits to your employees. It sets the floor for contracts, and it's used pretty widely. And all of that data is here when it's referenced in an RFP, or request for proposal. It's basically available on SAM.gov. Pretty easy to work with, pretty cut and dry. And then the Davis-Bacon Act, that's really on the same level. It's for contractors to pay out a prevailing wage for this is more construction driven, but it's basically the same principle. And you can search by state, city, your construction type. Again, pretty cut and dry. If you have any questions, always reach out to your local PTAC. We can always help you sort through this and get the right data. I actually have a meeting on this later today for a small contract. The federal hierarchy, this was meant as a great way to look at your different federal organizations. In my opinion, it's very sparsely populated. I don't think it's worth going through the domain in SAM.gov, but I will give you a great nugget. If you go to this website right here, usaspending.gov, they have over 108 different agencies and organizations where they give you the budget, they give you links to their strategy, they give you websites, they'll give you their congressional justification. It's a wealth of information when you're doing market research on potential targets. And it's really overall, usaspending.gov is a great resource in and of itself. So if you're not using that, definitely check it out, look through it. They have a great past contract award search capability as well. Just a plethora of all of this public information. I have to warn you, you will probably fall down a couple of rabbit holes through that website. I'm a recovering data analyst myself, so I find myself having to kind of stay away from it from time to time because it's got such great information. The user interfaces, there's nothing to be lacking there. So if you are looking to do any kind of market research on different federal agencies, definitely recommend usaspending.gov. The assistance listings domain in SAM.gov is probably a little bit different than what the name suggests. If you're looking for grant opportunities for your business, go to grants.gov. That's really where you're going to want to be. Assistance listings are more federal grant monies to other agencies. So if you look, I pulled up our own grant. So I pulled up the SBDC grant and the PTAP grant. And you'll see those are the kinds of assistance listings that you're going to come into with this search. Now, that being said, if I'm looking at bidding a project with a local organization that got some of this grant money, maybe it gives me the higher advantage if I know what their grant language says. So it's a helpful tool still. Really keep in mind that these are federal dollars flowing down usually through state and local institutions. And when they put out their RFP, maybe you can reference the language and the grant terms and conditions that they've received. So there's some value there still. Okay, to the big elephant, the merger. So after May 24th of this year, beta.sam.gov became sam.gov, which means no more beta. If you look and you go to beta.sam.gov, it refers you over to sam.gov. They took out a lot of, I'll say, kind of confusion, and they created those domains that we just went through. And each domain you'll see has their own landing page where you can then access the overall domain functionality. One thing that they did change is the login requirement. So, and if you don't have this login yet, you should get it because a lot of government systems are going to use it. It's called login.gov. And basically what you do is you create a login and then it allows you to access your own personal sam.gov, meaning it'll allow you to save searches, it allows you to follow opportunities, things of that nature. So really what they're looking to do is streamline the user functionality in the search. And I linked a before and after comparison guide. If you're a geek like me and you're curious, you can check it out. But overall, I think they used a lot of best practices. The website's a lot cleaner, and there's a definite streamlined user journey that they were very deliberate with. Some quick facts about the merger, and by now a lot of the bugs have been worked out. A lot of you, if you have been using it, probably already are used to the new layout. Basically, if you had an old login, you don't need a new one. If you had old searches set up, you won't need new searches. I still remember when they migrated federal business opportunities over and I lost all of my search data. A lot of people were livid about that, me being one of them. Yeah, thankfully they learned their lesson from that migration, and they moved the searches over for everybody. The one thing is there was a grace period for SAM.gov entity registrations. So in order to do business with any federal government agency, you have to be registered in SAM.gov. It's a mandate to hold any federal contract. And they gave you a grace period between April and September. They have since that's expired. So if you aren't sure if your SAM.gov, your company's SAM.gov registration is expiring, you can either go on SAM.gov and look it up yourself, or just reach out to your local PTAC and we can give you some confirmation on that. One way to tell is you usually start getting those emails from 86 different companies, telling you that for $500 a year, they'll make sure your entity is registered with SAM, and some of the emails come off as threatening even. We hate those guys, just kind of, brass tacks. The PTAC does that service for free. I think those emails are predatory. You don't have to pay somebody $500 a year to do something that we will do for free. Not only that, it creates a lot of issues with who's allowed to manage your entity in SAM.gov. And sometimes getting that control back is a real pain. So when in doubt, again, reach out to your local PTAC. If you're currently in that situation where you paid somebody money to register your entity, reach out to us and we'll help you get control back of that, so that you can manage your own entity, because it is important. It's important to be able to manage and have that authority with your own entity instead of a third party. So again, searches will roll over. The next big change is the universal unique identifier. And what happened was basically your Dun & Bradstreet number that everybody gets before they register in SAM.gov used to be the universal identity number. And in April 4th, that will no longer be the case. SAM.gov and the GSA, they have created their own unique identifier. And this is per federal mandate, really, through the FAR, even the Federal Acquisition Regulation. So what happens is if you already have a SAM registration, then you really don't need to do anything. The unique identity will be assigned to your company or your organization. A lot of the UEIs have already been assigned, and you may not even know it and have it. But it's good to know, because your government contracts are going to start asking for this number. So just know that you can go to SAM.gov and look your entity up, and your number will be available to you without having to do anything. Now, if we're registering a new entity on SAM.gov, they will give you, starting, I believe, even now, you will be assigned a unique identifying number. At this moment, we still have to do a Dun & Bradstreet registration, but that will cease to happen once the rollover is complete. Why they picked April 4th, 2022, I don't know, but that is the date we're expecting. So if you have any questions on that and how to find your number, don't hesitate to reach out. We can always help you get there. So a couple more facts. Really, I don't want to spend too much time on all of the minutiae here. Basically, yes, there is going to be a new unique identity Duns is being replaced per the FAR. The interested vendors list, there are going to be some changes to that. Interested vendors list is where you can basically publicize your interest in an opportunity. It's a great feature if you're looking for different teammates for government opportunities, or looking to do some light competitive intel. So they're making some changes to that as well. Another change that they are launching is called identity proofing. Basically, for entity administrators, they're asking you to prove your ID. This has caused some consternation with people that really don't want to have to share that information, and rightfully so. But that is becoming a mandate. So, if you are your entity administrator, you're going to be asked to prove your ID using some government docs. They are promising not to store that information, just to use it and then discard it or dispose of it per NIST standards. So if you have any questions about that, again, reach out to your local PTAC. We can help you. Here's the status of the integrated award environment. As you can see, they're only halfway there. So if you think that this system is is pivotal today, just wait until they complete the transition, and they will keep adding more to this system. The transformation is not complete by a long shot. So really the UEI is going to be the next big thing. I think the FPDS reports and the rest of the FPDS data eventually will get there. But right now, you're definitely going to use it one way or another, just because of the overarching functionality it currently has. Another big change on May 24th was the merger of beta.sam and SAM.gov to include your entity information. So if you want to look up any entity that's registered, you have the ability. You must log into your login.gov account first, but you can look up any company. I personally like doing this for my clients if they're looking up and looking to work with new teammates. I like knowing different information about those potential teammates. There's also an exclusions list that we'll look at that I'll show you that's pretty helpful. But you can look them up through keyword, entity, purpose, type. If you're looking up, say you want to look for an 8A partner in a certain NAICS code, this can help you find potential teammates. Now you can do it this way, or you can use the SBA's dynamic small business search to look up that information. But either way, it can be a pretty useful tool when you need some quick hit information on some different entities. It also, one thing it does give is contacts. So if I see a business out there that I want to get in touch with, instead of looking online and scouring the web pages, I'm going to go here and look them up, and I'm going to see who their government business point of contact is, because that's who I want to reach out to. So instead of sending it to mail@ptac.edu, I can look up an actual name and maybe even a number to call through their SAM entity registration. And here's the exclusions piece that I was talking about. I want to work with reputable companies and businesses. So if I have a teammate, if I have several teammates that I'm pulling into an RFP, I'm not just looking up their firm, but I'm going to look up their principals in the exclusion database. I want to know if they've ever been debarred, and I want to know what type of instance that was. So this is really helpful if you're looking to just do basic reputable research on potential teammates, or maybe you have a current incumbent that you want to look up to see what their situation is. So definitely some utility here. I don't use it that often, but for basic research on client teammates, I'll pull it up every now and then. So probably the biggest change in look and feel is the new workspace. This has become a customized dashboard where you can manage your entity, you can manage different roles, and you can manage your data. So I can manage my different searches. I can manage my different opportunities that I'm following. I can manage my reporting, which is always important for different contracts. And they pulled it all under one roof with a pretty easy to follow layout. At this point, are there any questions from anybody on the past slides? And silence is usually golden. I haven't seen anything or heard anything, so we'll keep moving through. And just a quick slide on where the help tab is. There's a help section on every page now, and they have really invested a lot of time and help resources. Again, contact your PTAC. I sound like a broken record, but we are really pretty adept at this system at this point. But you have help at every turn on this new platform. And this was the slide that I wanted to show to illustrate I hear or see a question. I did not hear you when you went off mute, Aaron. Okay, when you're ready, just let me know, and we can get through some of the questions. No worries at all. Adapt and conquer, right? So the workspace is really going to be your management dashboard. Now, a lot of people, they get into SAMGov once a year when it's time to go through that administrivia of keeping their company registration current so that they get paid and they have they have different contracts that they have to be compliant with. But you can do so much more here now. On the right-hand side, you'll see you can download the last 7 days worth of opportunities. You can save your searches and look at opportunities that you're following. One thing I still hope they fix is when you're following an opportunity, it still follows it by contract number. And if you're like me and you have 20 opportunities you're following at any given time, you're not really tracking them by contract number, but you're tracking them by program name. It makes it a little bit tedious when you're looking at that list. But you can pull it down and slice and dice it in Excel. You'll see that the unique entity ID is now available in your workspace. So if you're looking for that information, you can certainly access it there. Entity reporting, I'm not sure if you have a lot of contracts that have the bio preferred clauses and reports in them, but if you do, you're reporting through SAM.gov now. And if you need any help with your reporting, again, we're available at the PTAC to help you through that. And then you also have your SCA reporting, which again, it's for different contract types with different wage determinations. The thing I like a lot about this new workspace is the ability to assign roles. When you have, you have at least one entity administrator per organization. I recommend you have at least 2 entity administrators per organization, just in case one becomes indisposed. It sounds macabre, but I like to go by the hit by the bus scenario. So if I'm ever hit by a bus, I want somebody else in my organization to be able to make sure my contracts stay in compliance. I wouldn't suggest any more than two, or at least not many more than two, because they are the only role where you can actually delete your registration. So you want to be careful with that, but you definitely want to have that backup. But the ability, the ease of assigning roles with this new layout is something I really like. And you'll want to manage your roles. They simplified the roles, and we'll look at that here in a little bit. Your roles basically range from data entry, administrator, and viewer, and they're changing that constantly. So sometimes you're going to want to just assign a viewer role so people can look at tech docs when they're bidding things. Or you're going to want the basic data entry role where they can update your entity, but they can't delete it. And then eventually, the administrator role where they're the ones that are updating everything and they have total control over the entity. To look at your entity, basically it's a quick process. You're going to go to your entity registrations domain, search for your entity, click on the active button in your workspace. The one thing that people always have trouble with is how to access and update the actual entity. A lot of people want to click on that highlighted title right there, but it's not. Go right under the expiration date and you'll see 3 vertical dots. And you click on the dots and that's where you update your entity. I get more phone calls about that than most because I don't know why they hid that so well, but that apparently was part of the feedback they got. But we'll look at just viewing the record. So in order to download your reps and certs, you're going to the same place. You go to your entity, you go to your actions is what I'll call them. And there you can view your entity and you can download your core data. Now, my recommendation is always to, when you're doing your company update, always make sure that you're cognizant of the reps and certs. In every federal contract, there's going to be some form or fashion of your Section K, your reps and certs. But now, instead of filling that out per proposal, some companies still do that. You can just download your current reps and certs, which makes it a lot easier to just attach that to your proposal instead of going through that 12-page rigmarole. So it's right there. View your record. You click on the reps and certs tab. You'll see the current record and then the download reports capability. So how long will it take to get your unique identity or unique entity ID? If you're registered today, again, you don't really have to worry about it. If you just need your unique entity ID, they're rolling that program out in Q1 of 2022, so in about a month. If you have any questions on that, again, PTAC's available to help you through it. Here's the rollout of the UEI, what it looks like, what it's going to look like, and where we are. So we're right here. Q1 is coming, so they're going to make it viewable across all IAE systems. They're making it so it does not require complete entity registration. Now, a lot of times when you're in the system, you want to register for SAM.gov anyway because it's a free process and it aligns you to do business with the federal government should you want to. But some companies they need that number to work with other commercial entities, and they have no interest in the government space. So in that case, you can, starting in Q1 2022, walk through that process and get your unique ID. And when in doubt, again, PTAC will help you through that process. So probably one of the most important aspects of this presentation is the help and resources. So you can go by it a few different ways. They make this really accessible to anybody who's looking. You can search by domain and look at the knowledge base. You can look at this help bar, the last menu item on the top bar there. Or you can go down to the bottom and you can report an incident or go to live chat. Another feature I want to point out is at the bottom of every single page is a feedback button. It's a little green button and it says feedback. The GSA updates and makes changes to the whole integrated award domain environment because of our feedback. So if they're missing a feature, or if you find something lacking, send the feedback. They really are listening. I do beta testing for them often, and they're rolling out changes that are suggested by you, the user. So it really is a valuable tool, a valuable aspect of the website that they've incorporated. For instance, one of their changes that they made when they rolled out the new merger was the ability to search multiple states for contract opportunities. Before, you had to set up a search for each state, and it was tedious. Now I can do a regional search with Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and that state up north, and from there I can get back just one result instead of having to split them up into 4 different searches. So yeah, that's all because of user feedback, and that's something you guys should definitely utilize. But from the search perspective, you also have a live chat function with the Federal Service Desk, who is the help desk for the integrated award environment. It's something that is really valuable when you're having issues and you need support that may be immediate. And the Federal Service Desk does a bang-up job. You always get an actual human being on the other end of the line. We use them often at the PTAC. So I suggest, if all else fails, they're definitely a great resource to use. Another type of help is the topics on each page. So for instance, this is the contract opportunities domain. If I'm looking at any kind of help topics, they have racked and stacked them right here below on every landing page. Sorry, it's every domain landing page. So if you need any help, it's right there, below the search function. Just a quick pro tip: I never use the search box when I'm on the contract opportunities page. I always go straight to my advanced search. I find that you need at least 2 to 3 criteria to get the search results to where you want them. So usually it's just a quick search there. Another really great resource for help is your FSD knowledge base. These are your Federal Service Desk knowledge base entries, meaning the guys that run the help desk, knowing exactly what has been asked, they've put out their own knowledge base. And you can see this runs the whole gamut: entity registration, contract opportunities, your workspace, your federal hierarchy, again, don't use too much, but anything from login.gov through assistance listings. Really good resource. It's linked right here. If you have any issues, I can almost guarantee you that there's a topic here that'll help. And if you're really into the integrated award environment, or if you're a fellow PTAC counselor, or if you have to keep up on it because you have to educate your employees about the environment and how to use it, they have a great community on GSA Interact. They're giving you updates on the different changes that are coming. They're giving you different feedback almost daily, if not weekly. And so a really good community to be a part of. really good way to stay ahead of the changes and know what's coming. They also have a YouTube channel that has some pretty good content on it. But again, and I'm biased, but your local PTAC is an excellent resource. The more times than not, you're going to find an expert that's really there to help. And they'll help you save a lot of time too. We have a short demo, but I'd like to hold off on that and see if I can't answer any questions. I think we'll probably keep the demo out for today and focus on if we have any kind of answers I can provide to you guys.
Hey, Billy, this is Aaron. Can you hear me now?
Hey, Aaron, how's it going?
All right, it's going well. My headset died in the middle of your presentation, and then I ran into a bug where I couldn't unmute myself. So
there's always something. If there wasn't bad luck, there'd be no luck at all.
Right. So when you asked if there were any questions and it was silent, I was over here talking, apparently only to myself. There was one question, and I'll read it, but you kind of covered it over the course of your presentation earlier. It was about entity registration, and the question was whether or not you would address entity registration, and has anything in the entity registration process changed over the last year? So I don't know if there's anything additional you want to say about that. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions, go ahead and enter them in the chat while Billy is covering this one.
Yeah, the entity registrations, they kind of ported the exact same screens over from the old SAM.gov to the quote unquote new SAM.gov. And again, PTAC can help you through that process. They have instituted some new FAR clauses that you should be aware of. So as you are aware, paramount in these days is security. So there is a telecommunications clause that has been instituted. I refer to it as Section 889, just stating that if you use any telecommunications equipment, or if you provide any telecommunications equipment to the government, that it is not, nor does it have any components from 11 different Chinese national firms known for their spyware. So it's called Huawei, Huwaie, I believe is the correct spelling, and 10 of their subsidiaries. You want to make sure that you're not working with any of those. Now, they provided a lot of 5G cell phones. So if you happen to have outfitted your employees with new cell phones in the last couple of years, you may want to check that out, just to be certain, because that is a new FAR clause that has been added to the SAM registration. Outside of that, it stayed basically identical. There has been some bugs because of the migration. Sometimes it kicks you back out to the home screen when you're halfway through, which is really frustrating. But overall, the process itself, the information, you still need a login.gov login, and you still need to know your NPIN password to get through your registration. If you need to change any of that, or if you have any questions, we do this stuff every day, so we're always happy to help.
Great. There aren't any other questions in the question box at this point. We have 6 minutes left in the hour. Did you want to show the demo?
I could run through a quick demo. It's yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and do that? And if any other questions pop up, I'll let you know.
Okay. Perfect. Let's see. Escape. We'll go to SAM.gov, and you can see my screen. Okay, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So when I'm going to SAM.gov, most of the time I'm looking at contract opportunities. Again, I never worry about this. I always go straight here. Let's see. Where I'm going to start is my product service information. And I'll give you a quick, just a quick pro tip here. Instead of searching for an opportunity, let's search for an industry day. Okay, so I want to do some engineering. And I'm really looking for the chance to connect with the customer. So I want to do that in person. So let's look at Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and we'll cut it out there. We still don't want to go to that state up north because this weekend it was fairly painful for a lot of us here. But the notice type I'm going to go to is special notice. So under your special notice is going to be um, all of your different notices, whether it's a contract award, but all of your industry day and small business announcements. So you can see it looks like a special announcement for a site visit. So that's a chance to connect to the customer. If you're not getting a lot of these under, using a NAICS code, you can always adjust and just type in industry day. And so you'll see that there's a lot of industry days. One thing I hate about this is it always sorts by relevance. So I'm going to sort by updated date, and these will give me my 24 results to attend an industry day. Now, you may want to narrow it down with more keywords or NAICS codes, but I may save this search down just so I get a update anytime there's a new industry day in my area. And that way, I'm staying up to date with chances to contact the customer. Now, if I take this off and I decide instead to stick with my engineering NAICS code, you'll see that there's some national industry days. Again, sort by updated date, so you get the latest announcements. But this gives me, and there may be some irrelevant data in here, but I can get through 122 results using 1, 2, 3 different search criteria. And that allows me, if you want, you can set up an industry day for your different NAICS codes and have one for each. But getting that search down and giving you notifications on different opportunities to connect with the client, that's a really great utility in this tool. And another thing you can look at, just another quick little tip here. Whenever I'm searching for opportunities, I'm staying in the sources sought and pre-solicitation. If the first time I'm seeing an opportunity is when it's an RFP, I'm probably too late. So just a kind of a tip there. You always want to stay early in the acquisition life cycle. And sometimes an RFI may be too late. You really want to start connecting with your target customers and target clients in order to build that rapport, to know when an RFI is coming out, to have that early of a notice, because this space is really competitive. I remember helping, we actually had a really big client win for the try, decide, buy IDIQ that was out of here locally. That includes a lot of fabrics providers, a lot of clothing companies, a lot of textiles, and we got that win. We started that process, really early on in the acquisition life cycle, and it took over a year for it to come to fruition. So definitely something to be said there for planning and starting early. And it looks like that's 2 o'clock. So I'll wrap up the demo there. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to stick around. If not, I definitely feel free to reach out if you need anything. Always, always, always happy to help. I really love what I do here at the PTAC, and a lot of us feel the exact same way. So never hesitate. You're never bothering anybody. We're here for you. So.
Hey, Billy, one question did come in right now, and I realize we're
Mhm.
at time, but I want to address it since it's the only outstanding question.
Sure.
The question is, what do you mean by connecting with a client? If the client is HHS, then can we really connect with them early since it's so hard to get through to their procurement? This is regarding Made in USA three-ply face masks.
Yes, yes, you can. So with every organization, there's going to be a small business representative. They are your advocate, and it's really part of their mission to help you connect with the organization. If you'll notice, there's been a large drive to increase diversity and inclusiveness in the contractor base because the government industrial base is currently at a fraction of what it used to be. So they really do want to connect you, and there are advocates there for you. Um, are some better than others? Yes, I completely concur with that. But at the same time, if we do our diligence, the PTAC can help you connect with the small business reps. We have good relationships with a lot of contracting officers ourselves. So, really there are advocates there for you to help you connect within, maybe not HHS as a whole, but we can get you more discreet. Let's look at discreetly which offices are buying what you're selling, and getting you in front of those folks, getting you opportunities to go to industry days. One thing I love asking small business reps is, hey, do you have a forecast of opportunities that are coming out based on our NAICS code? And more times than not, they'll say, yeah, and by the way, let's connect you with Gary over here because he's one of my small business specialists in that organization. So it really does make a difference when reaching out to these agencies. It's all about effective communication. Have a good capability statement. Lead with that. Ask the right questions, and let the PTAC guide you there.
All right. Well, thank you for that answer, Billy. It doesn't look like there are any other questions here. So we really appreciate your time and your expertise here with this presentation. Wrapping things up here, I'd like to give a very special call out to IFAI's military division for bringing this webinar to you today. IFAI's military division offers great benefits to you and your organization, so we would appreciate it if you visited ifai.com/military for more info on membership with IFAI's military division. And just also as kind of a content update here, IFAI, we're continuing to add webinars to our calendar. So make sure that you check out all of our upcoming webinars and events by visiting ifai.com/events. Next Wednesday, November 8th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time is our webinar on year-end tax strategies brought to you by our partner firm, Clifton Larson Allen. And then finally, for those of you still on the webinar, a brief survey will appear when you exit the webinar. It's just, I think, 5 questions. We would really appreciate it if you took a few moments to complete it so that we can continue to provide you the best possible content. So thank you again, Billy, for your time and for your expertise. And we thank everybody who has attended with us today. And we hope you all have a great afternoon.
Yeah, thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate the time.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it.